This is HBR News number 384. Maxwell's appeal is in some trouble. Teachers, or at least staffers, imprison boy under terrible circumstances, where we reflect on the stories of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello everyone and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you are laughing at all of this absurdity so that it does not drive you mad and make you want to set fires and, hurt people and things like that, because we don't want that. We don't want you to do that. It's illegal and we're against things that are illegal. So, just try to, stack some dominoes or build a card castle or something else. But anyway, aside from that, my name is Brian. I'm your host, and I'm here with my lovely co-hosts, Mike J. and Hannah Wallen. Or not Mike J, I'm sorry. Mike, or Randombercam, and Hannah Wallen. Mike J is not available. I meant to mention that before. He's dealing with personal things. So
you have to be careful about that. If you get your mics mixed up, you can get feedback.
Yeah.
or you could just get muted in Discord for the remainder of the show, as often happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a great show lineup for you guys today, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. On this week's HBR News Show, we're going to be talking about a sort of like appeal in process of Ghislaine Maxwell. You guys might know the name. She is a we'll bring back the reminder in case you're wondering, but it involves vulnerable people. And so first we're going to talk about the appeal of Ghislaine Maxwell, how that's going. We're going to be talking about a woman who burned down her boyfriend's house over another man, I think, or another woman. A Texas school staff is accused of locking a boy up in isolation until he ate his own feces and urine and more. So stick around. It's going to be a good time, or at least as good as we can make it considering the subject matter. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. I have this article from The Independent I'm going to display for you guys. And it is entitled, "I am a barrister, and I know the law does not protect women and girls. It needs to change in 5 areas." So this is a barrister writing an article for The Independent where she explains why women are not treated fairly or with equality or whatever her favorite term is. And she's going to give us a list of 5 areas where it is a problem. This is why I'm launching a new radical organization, Right to Equality, in partnership with the Good Law Project. Which sounds a bit like the Good Man Project.
That's such a new idea. Nobody's ever done that before. Mm-hmm. It's very, very bizarre that somebody should wait till the 21st century to come up with the idea that women should have special privileges under the law.
What about freeing women and girls? I seem to recall that was a virtue signaling thing back in the 60s, which arguably could have been called progress, because throughout all of human history, freeing women and girls has never been considered as important as protecting women and girls. Ask those folks in the Islamic world about their priorities with regard to freeing women or protecting women. They're very much about protecting the women, and we don't consider that progressive. But no, we're right back to fuck freedom. Let's protect the women's, and this is called progress. Ugh.
Yes, sir.
That's just it. Women cannot be free. We are by nature very expensive.
Yeah, women are expensive. That's true. All right. So that's the story we're going to be looking at in the Patron Show. If you'd like to be a part of that, either as a member of the audience like you are now, or even a member of the discussion itself, you can go to feedthebadger.com and start up a monthly subscription. And that will get you access to all of the sort of like unlisted content that we make, such as these patron-only shows. And if you don't want to wake up in the morning to find that we are basically not even a memory of the internet, please go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com, or you can go to Feed the Badger. honeybadgerradio.com. All right, so I guess with all of that said, let's get into the stories. Today's show might be a little shorter than normal because I only have 3 main stories, but they are good ones. That I will say that. They are 3 juicy stories. All right, so first up, Ghislaine Maxwell. So Ghislaine Maxwell's estranged husband. I didn't know that they were. I mean, I didn't know that she was married, but apparently, and he is an estranged husband, is refusing to pay for her appeal. Scott Borgerson, 46, secretly married Maxwell, 60, in 2016. Maxwell transferred up to $20 million to a trust fund in Borgerson's control. However, he ended the relationship with Maxwell over a phone call to the New York prison where she was awaiting trial. Now he's being accused of failing to pay $900,000 legal bills to her defense team and provide the $1 million required to challenge the conviction. Some close to Maxwell fear he is delaying their divorce and her access to money as a negotiating ploy, while another source cited by the Daily Mail says that Borgerson, quote, doesn't trust what Maxwell's lawyers are telling him, end quote. Maxwell's brother was astonished to find out that not only was she married, but had transferred all of her money over to Borgerson. He did not visit her in the New York jail once or attend any of the trials, like the trial hearings.
So hands up anyone else who didn't know Maxwell was married and was under the distinct impression that she and Epstein were
lovers,
exclusively in that kind of relationship together, and only not just a long-term professional relationship, but a sexual one. That seems to be what we've been led to believe up until right about now-ish. It certainly helped when it came to the narrative that she was merely being manipulated, that she was under the thrall of this evil man, this unaccountably evil man who has since faced accountability to the tune of his life taken at his own hands, obviously. Move along, people, nothing to see here, etc. And there's still every reason to believe this was indeed the case, with or without the complication of this marriage thing, in which she has been apparently embroiled. And there's every reason to believe it wasn't. Maxwell evidently had at least 2 long-term relationships, one or more of which were romantic in nature and one or more of which were financial in nature. Actually, both of which were financial in nature, clearly. Mm-hmm. As far as we know, she never fucked anyone. I've never had a romantic bone in her body, so to speak, no matter how beach body ready she may have been. What we can ascertain is that she had a man in her life from whom she received untold amounts of wealth, and another man in her life through whom she filtered that wealth. And I'm not going to make out like Scott Borgerson is completely innocent either. This all sounds remarkably fishy. And it wouldn't surprise me if he got dragged into court at some point as well, and then mysteriously Epsteined as well. But this whole series of events makes you wonder who was really in charge of this operation. Are we even barking up the right tree when we call it Epstein Island rather than Maxwell Island? What happened when the lid was finally blown off? Epstein got, Epsteined. Maxwell got imprisoned, which I would call being Maxwelled, but thanks to her father, Robert Maxwell, that still means getting mysteriously thrown overboard from a ship in international waters. And to further thicken the plot, this Borgerson character is still a free man. Yeah, of course, this can't lead us to conclude anything in particular. Maybe he really is an innocent third party who was merely embroiled in the thrall of these extremely dodgy individuals. But it's increasingly difficult to believe that anyone associated in these shenanigans is innocent. If anything, those who have so far escaped prosecution might be the guiltiest parties out of everyone. Case in point, Prince Andrew is still a free man, albeit a universally suspicious and hated man.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton is still a free man, and no one's even talking about that. Something Bill Gates, something tip of the goddamn iceberg. Like, Elon, my dude, now that you're in the business of whistleblowing, is there something you can buy that could help us figure out what really happened on that island? Because on the list of people who really need their asses thrown in prison for the rest of eternity, Ghislaine Maxwell is like halfway down that list, and she's already in prison. It would be easy to work our way down that list, but what we really need to do is work our way up it. Figure out what Scott Borgerson is, where he is on that list, and if it's further up, keep going. This is, of course, all conjecture on my part. I have no information that could lead to the arrest of the Clintons, and I am not suicidal. Message ends.
Well, that is true. At this point, the one thing we can say for 100% certain is we don't really know a whole lot here. But there is one thing we do know, and that is her husband no longer thinks she's appealing.
Yeah. I mean...
And I know that was probably one of my worst puns ever.
Oh. Well, I mean, it does show that... let me see. He ended the relationship with Maxwell after a phone call to the New York prison where she was awaiting trial. So I don't know. My guess is that this guy is probably not clean either. You know, in one way or another. Maybe he didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went or whatever. But I think that it's entirely, I guess, plausible that he is perhaps an innocent party in all this. I don't know if that's really like optimistic. But I looked up I looked it up on god damn it, Business Insider. You're so useless. Scott Borgerson, who is Ghislaine Maxwell's secret husband who ended marriage via prison phone call. Disgraced British socialite, Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Already know that part. While she awaits sentencing, millionaire, CEO, and tech officer. So this guy's super rich too. Scott Borgerson, 44, who is rumored to be very connected, was pictured with a possible new girlfriend in his quaint Massachusetts town, Manchester by the Sea, last month while his wife was on trial in New York. All right. Pictures of Borgerson and his likely new flame emerged in November, and she has since been identified as Chris McGinn, a 49-year-old journalist, mother of two, and a yoga enthusiast. Oh, I don't care. All right. Well, anyway, so I don't know this guy's story. It sounds kind of like based on, this article from the Evening Standard. It sounds very milquetoast and basic. But what is interesting, I guess, or the takeaway that I find the most interesting is the fact that she's trying to pay for her appeal, and she was trying to get this guy to do it for her, and so it's not just that he said, I'm ending the relationship, but it's also that he said, I'm not going to help you. I don't care what happens, right? You can burn in hell for all I care, or whatever. And that might reveal some issue with their relationship, I would say, probably. But also that there is an issue with, I guess, like the legal problems that she has, because if she can't pay for the appeal, then I guess she doesn't get one. Is that kind of like what it is? Because she needs to pay this $900,000 legal bill to her defense team and provide $1 million to change the conviction.
It'll complicate things in the court system, because I mean, she could turn around and say, you know, my right to a robust defense is being compromised.
Mm-hmm.
So she might turn around and say, hey, you know, this is, she could even go so far as to make a domestic violence allegation against him, because if I understand right from the story, he wasn't withholding money that originated with his earnings. He was withholding her trust fund. And if he's withholding her trust fund, that probably falls under the category of financial abuse that has been invented by feminists. And so all the feminists that are mad at her for legitimately mad too for grooming young women to be sexually exploited can sort of stuff it, because now she'll have a legal avenue to go after her ex-husband in this. And it's very possible, like, if with all of the stuff that's going on, I mean, we could suspect all kinds of things. This might not even be his idea. He might be under pressure to do that. You know, he might just be mad. He might be, you know, you cheated on me. You turned out to be a piece of shit and I didn't know, you know, and that kind of thing, which I doubt. It's kind of hard to be married to somebody and not know the kind of person they are. But in you know, it's definitely possible for her to use legal avenues to get her defense paid for. It just might mean it's going to take longer, and we'll hear more about it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel all that bad for her, just basically because I don't think she was used in this. I don't think she's innocent. I do think she did the thing she's accused of, and
Absolutely.
Yeah, but legally, you know, as far as due process is concerned, like, you have the right to an appeal. You have the right to fund it. And like, if she was dead broke and she wanted to continue appealing, I believe she would have the right to a state funded attorney. So she's not, but geez, what a stupid situation.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And it feels like they're trying to make this woman who gathered up young women and groomed them to be exploited, to be sexually exploited. They're trying to make her a sympathetic character in all of this. Like, oh, the poor woman. No, she is not a sympathetic character. Stop trying to make her a sympathetic character. It's not going to happen.
And like I said, there must be a reason she's still alive. It can't have been easy to off Epstein. I mean, he wasn't off; he killed himself, obviously. But you know, if anyone who can do that to Epstein could just as easily have done it to Maxwell, but they didn't.
Yeah, really odd that. And again, that makes me wonder, like, does the husband or ex-husband or whatever, like, did he know about all this? Did he know about all these allegations?
Got married in 2016, is that right?
Yeah,
I don't think they were married for too long.
That ain't 30 years ago, and she's been doing this shit for that long, like, right? At
least, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, like, she's constantly jet setting around the world and all that. So, you know, maybe they didn't really see each other a whole lot. But yeah, I wonder about that. That's basically where my question mark is. Did this guy know about all this that was going on? Because it's not like you needed she wasn't just, engaged in this stuff. She was making money for a number of other reasons. I mean, she's just a member of the elite. She's basically a trust fund baby. I think that, working for Epstein probably paid very well, and so he's not like wondering like where the money is coming from because he can see, that she has a job. But I do wonder if there could be, well, I'm sure that there are men in situations where they're married to a woman and she's doing illegal shit and they don't know. I mean, it could be. So I don't know for sure. I'm not going to say, one way or the other. But I do find that kind of fascinating. All right, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I'm not seeing any super chats or super chows, I don't think. Let me just double check over here. No super chows. So yeah, let me know if you guys, could send us some super chats. All right, let us know what you guys think about this one in. Shut up. And yeah, I'm not seeing any of that in the rumbles either. So let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I'm going to move on to the final. No, this is the second story. That was the first story. This is the second story. And yeah, let's talk about this. So this is kind of wild. 23-year-old Zenaida Soto, pictured here, I believe, was taken into custody last week by Bexar County Police. The Texan woman faces felony charges for burglary and arson stemming from lighting her boyfriend's house on fire. Earlier in the day, Soto tried to FaceTime her boyfriend, only for another woman to answer the phone. This threw Soto into a rage after she had assumed that her boyfriend had been cheating on her, so she assumed it. It would ultimately be explained that the female answering the boyfriend's phone was in fact a relative, so not someone he was cheating with. Soto then immediately traveled to her boyfriend's house, broke in, stole several items, and then set the couch on fire. Soto once again FaceTimed her boyfriend, showing him the fire and telling him, quote, "I hope your stuff is going to be okay," end quote, before leaving the scene with the stolen items. The fire was extinguished before the whole house was engulfed in flame, but by the time that was done, over $50,000 in property damage had been done. Video footage would prove without a doubt that Soto was in fact the culprit and that she would be arrested the following day. Soto's pretrial hearing is set for December, and her bail is set at $165,000.
Well, frankly, this is outrageous. This is scandalous. This is an abhorrent way to treat a minority woman of color. $165,000 bail. This was clearly a mostly peaceful protest. Nobody died. Nobody was physically injured. No animals were harmed in the making of this virtuous demonstration of righteous indignation, at least as far as we know so far. So it was at least 70% peaceful. And what else was she supposed to do? Her boyfriend was clearly cheating on her. She had unequivocal video proof of it happening. That adulterous strumpet was undeniably kneeling on the very neck of his FaceTime when you look at it from that angle. Don't look at it from any other angle. It doesn't matter what else we found out after that initial interpretation of the situation. GTFO with all your misinformation. So a certain monetary amount of property was destroyed. So what? He has insurance. Presumably, he has insurance. I don't know, but for the purposes of this argument, I do know. And he does have insurance, and he'll be fine. And property doesn't matter anyway. No one should have any property except the government. No, I'm not a communist, you hysterical neo-reactionary. I just don't care how much of the country we literally burn to the ground for the ostensible sake of demographics I consider to be ideologically pure. But how dare he press charges against this poor woman for these, perceived wrongdoings? She can't afford that. She can't possibly defend herself against this big lie. She's been practically killed over this overreaction. Practically almost killed, which is as good as first-degree murder. This is an insurrection, I tell you. We're going to spend the next 2 years investigating this inexcusable breach of justice, this existential threat to democracy. You can expect us to burn down another $1 billion worth of property and the loss of exactly 0 lives, trust me, and we'll do it a couple of months before the next election. This will be a coincidence, trust me. You like how I barely addressed this story at all? I just used it as a conduit to sarcastically bitch about the big stuff. There's probably no munted news this month, so I'm just doing it here instead. Hope you enjoyed it.
Of course.
It's just amazing. They actually held her this much accountable, and I'm assuming it's because of the property. Because obviously, if she had just attacked a man, nobody in authority would care, right? But this is an issue we hear all the time, that it's harmless when women are abusive. It's harmless when women engage in coercive control, right? It's harmless. Women can't do anything to men. Men are bigger and stronger, right? Men are tougher. Men can handle anything. So what if she hits him? He's bigger and stronger. So what if she attacks him with a weapon? He can take it away from her. Oh, she burned his house down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when are we going to take abusive women seriously? Oh, it's when they destroy property instead of a man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, private property is an important thing to me. I do vehemently oppose communism, but for crying out loud, if I got to choose between a thing and a person, like, fuck the thing. You can replace things, and even if you can't replace things, they're still not as important as people.
Yeah.
But I guess you don't recognize that if you don't think men are human.
True.
So a woman doesn't get held accountable for being a domestic abuser, because I'm sure this is totally not the first thing that she's ever done to him until she burned somebody's house down.
And admitted to it, by the way. They keep doing this. She filmed herself doing it.
Jeez.
Because I can't understand the mindset of someone who's so assured in their sense of righteousness that they can just film themselves doing it, and they think the whole world will go, yeah, you go, girl. You fucking girl boss your way to freedom.
It's because the world does say, you go, girl, until she does something they can't excuse. And this we'll probably hear from feminists how, oh, well, this was justified because he was the abuser. He let her think he was cheating, which is bullshit, because that's an idea she came up with herself. She just assumed. But that's the take that some women, in particular feminist women, will have. He had to be wrong. He had to have done something, right? And this is what it takes. This kind of activity is what it takes for normies to hold an abusive woman accountable.
Yeah.
It's still not up to par for feminists to hold an abusive woman accountable. They won't ever.
Right. No, of course not. All right. So what? I guess I don't really have anything to add. I mean, it's messed up. Women that are like jealous or angry, they can be pretty irrational. And here's a shot of her burning the couch.
Jeez.
I guess. Yeah, I know. That's the house. It's like a bungalow or something. And it's I don't know, man. It's just, I'm glad that I never met a girl that's like this. Like, I've been very lucky, I guess, because stuff like this happens a lot more frequently than people would like to accept, or and yeah, I think that women get much more of a pass if they do this, because we just have more sympathy for them. It's like, oh, I could see some guys going up to her boyfriend here and saying, that he should be more careful with, I don't know, like what he shows his girlfriend in the future. And it's like, well, that was like my cousin or my sister or whatever that was on the phone. But that doesn't matter, because if they get super jealous and they want to do something, then I think that people are kind of inclined to be sympathetic to that, even if it's a mistake. So
it's bizarre that women can be so jealously possessive of men and yet so destructively hateful towards those very same men at the same time. It doesn't compute to anyone who's in their right mind.
Yeah.
It's like how people treat their possessions. Like Basil Fawlty, smacking the shit out of his car with the tree branch because it won't start. It only makes sense as a crime of passion that you would only do to a possession that doesn't feel pain or doesn't feel anything, because there's no one in that relationship except you. It's just you expressing your frustration in a way that only you understand. Like when your computer doesn't work, you just yell at your computer and smack it. Because it's essentially just you yelling at yourself. And it's kind of similar with people who yell at their dogs when they're not doing what they want. Even though a dog is a living creature, you know that it can't understand what you're saying when you're yelling at it, but you just do it to get shit off your chest. Because people do think of their pets as their possessions. I mean, they do call themselves the owners, and that's where I guess that's the middle part of this particular spectrum. But this is a woman who clearly treats her man as her possession. I'm trying to work this out in my own head. I cannot figure out how the fuck this works, but I'm trying to conjecture about this. I can only assume like her man is her possession, and he's acting outside of what she wants her possession to do, and so she destroys it because she feels like she can, because there's no one else in this relationship. It's just me and this plastic robot that's supposed to do everything I want it to do.
Yeah,
I that's my best guess as to how the fuck this even works.
Yeah. Well, yeah, guys, you got to be careful about what women you get involved with, so they don't end up like that. Really possessive, really jealous. All right, well, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I'm gonna move on now.
I will point out one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
It's funny, not funny, haha, but like George Thorogood funny. Just funny that it's important to the story that he wasn't cheating,
Right?
Because if he was, there would be more women than just feminists, right? Who would be saying, well, if it was wrong what she did, but if he hadn't cheated on her, it wouldn't have happened to him. And those same women will turn around and say nothing a woman could ever do could justify a man hitting her.
Right. That's
right?
true.
Even if she comes at him with a knife, even if she does something like this, he wouldn't be able to stop her, because nothing a woman can ever do can justify a man hitting her. But they will turn around and say, oh, well, if he cheated on her, maybe she did something wrong, but it's his fault because, right? So they would totally blame the victim. Totally.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
If we were masochistic enough, we'd be scouring the internet looking for some kind of feminist blog trying to talk about this story and saying, well, she was justified because the outside possibility that he was cheating on her would justify this happening. So men need to make these contingencies to make sure that their female relatives don't answer the phone, because that would give a woman every right to. Again, I'm just imagining what feminists would say about this, but
you don't even need to find one about
they
this
just
story.
don't talk about it. He's just not going to find feminists talking about it because they'd rather ignore this story altogether and look for something they can spin.
You don't even need to find one about this story. I've seen feminist articles, mainly radfem articles, about how a man's female relatives are the other women because he should only be focused on her.
Yeah, that's something else that I've heard about.
And then there's radfems who want to kill all men anyway. So
yeah, there are women that don't think that their men should be involved in family, involved in friendship circles. So yeah, I mean, they basically want to isolate those men from their social circles, and that often includes, female relatives, female friends, and male friends, and even maybe if he has like a professional relationship that's a little bit more friendly than professional, all of that, right? There are women like that, and this woman could be one of those. I don't know. Anyway, so let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're gonna move on to the final story now. I just get ready. A Texas teacher and 2 of her assistants are being charged in connection to the abuse of a student back in 2021. And this is basically like an updated thing, right? We haven't covered this before because we didn't know about it, but Melody LaPointe, 47, and Tara Tinney, 33, and Augusta Caslow, 27, have all been charged with 4 counts of abandoning or endangering a child. These 3 women allegedly isolated a 5-year-old special needs boy within a Liberty Independent School District facility for so long that he started eating his own feces after he was deprived of food. And urine, by the way. He also drank his pee. According to a spokesperson for Liberty ISD, as cited by ABC 13, quote, the 2 assistants were put on administrative leave during the investigation last year and then resigned once the investigation was completed, end quote. They continue, quote, LaPointe, the main teacher in the classroom, was able to find work at another school district. She was recently working as a teacher for Bonnie P. Harper Primary School in Goose Creek, end quote. The parents of students at Hopper Primary received an email about her arrest saying she was placed on administrative leave with pay pending the outcome of the investigation.
Well, I mean, this is absurd. This is unconscionable. How could this possibly have happened? This is clearly a case of misogynistic, patriarchal male oppressors deliberately eating his own feces just to plant a false flag against the good name of these innocent teachers. I mean, it says here he drank his own urine. Have you tried drinking your own urine without the use of a receptacle? You have to do it directly from one orifice to another. You need to arc it upwards and somehow fine-tune your calibration so as to aim it towards your mouth. It's incredibly difficult, and you only get 1 shot per expression, and you only get 1 sufficient projectile of expression before you're critically dehydrated and you run out of the flow to sufficiently do so. No, this is clearly impossible. And as for eating his own feces, well, he obviously enjoys it. Pigs eat their own shit, and men are pigs, therefore men eat their own shit. That's probably why they sent him to detention in the first place, for eating his own shit. What choice did they have, after all? And once again, women are punished for what is fundamentally men's fault. We should punish men. by imprisoning them until they eat their own shit. What's the worst that could happen after all right? But seriously, like wood chipper, just wood chipper. How is this any more excusable than just fucking the kid? How is it any less traumatic than just fucking the kid? You can't even. There isn't even some duplicitous clause where you can claim you simply love children, or that you just want to let children be their authentic selves, or some bullshit like that. Not that I'm excusing the groomers who use these kinds of euphemisms to virtue signal their way into fucking kids, but this wouldn't even have been acceptable as a thing to do to kids who were working in the factories in the Industrial Revolution. The only reason we've got to the point where this can even happen is because schools are run almost entirely by women, and the bubble in which women operate is exempt from criticism. And what we're seeing at any given point is surely just the tip of the iceberg. Schools will not be held accountable until we hold women accountable. Just like hospitals will not be held accountable as long as we're worshipping nurses who happen to be mostly women. You go ahead, connect this to any other recent and ongoing events in which the whole world has been held hostage on behalf of the nurses and the teachers, even at the expense of the children. Not just children's freedom, but even their protection. Women are being held as more innocent and less agentive than children. And this is why we keep seeing these stories of women getting away with torturing children to the most unspeakable degrees. I can't even odd.
This is so bad. And when I look at this story, the thing that sticks out to me immediately is special needs boy.
Yeah,
not just boy, but special needs boy. And I am working with people with special needs. I have noticed something that that seems to be a very, very gendered. Women sort of apply agency where there isn't agency. And I don't know what type of special needs this boy had or has, but I'm assuming because it was mentioned in the story that this is not a kid who just had a mobility issue, but that this is a kid who had intellectual disabilities or psychological disabilities, and therefore probably had behavioral problems that had triggers. And when you work with somebody with intellectual disabilities who is very disabled, like you have a spectrum, obviously, from barely disabled to so disabled that they can't feed themselves, and you have various issues to work with on that spectrum, where maybe somebody hasn't developed the ability that you develop as you get older to diffuse frustration through some method other than expressing it in the form of yelling and pounding on things, right? But some people just don't have that capability unless you assist them and give them a distraction, give them something else to do or think about, get them to laugh at something, and so on. And there are things like that. An inability to control one's bowel and bladder, an inability to control one's speaking or silence when one has a thought, right? Things like that. Somebody might have a moment in class where they say something out loud that they were thinking because they can't not do it. Or it's very hard for them to control that behavior. And I've noticed that between men and women working with people with these types of disabilities, men are more likely to understand, and women who are on the autistic spectrum seem to be more likely to understand. This person cannot control this behavior. It's my job to help redirect the behavior in a gentle and kind and loving manner. And like if the person can't control their temper, their frustration and stuff like that, maybe you get them a punching bear, or a boxing, one of those not balloons, but you know what I mean, like
Oh, I know what you mean.
a
Those
punching bag.
those
You get them an actual punching bag, right?
Those ones
And
the ones that like they have a weight at the bottom, so when you hit
yeah.
them, they always come back. Yeah, I know the ones.
And my first grade teacher had an obstacle course in the classroom. It wasn't like stuff you climbed over and intricate, it was classroom appropriate and it was safe, but it had tasks that you did to get to the next step. And we had a couple of kids in the class that had not quite to the level of extreme attention deficit, but very much difficulty working out their wiggles. And if they were really having trouble, they would do the obstacle course. And it wasn't a punishment, it was a break. And she made sure to we all understood, if you had that difficulty, this isn't a punishment. This is a break. This is how you can let that out and then get back to doing what you were doing. And that was like my first grade teacher was also my fourth grade teacher because she moved up. She was an amazing woman. Like that's the woman that everybody is talking about when they say teachers are wonderful people. Was Miss McAvoy.
Yeah.
These women don't belong anywhere near any children ever, as long as they live, but especially not near special needs children. And what I've noticed is a lot of women that have this problem, this inability to recognize lack of capability in controlling behaviors and things like that without assistance from somebody who can be gentle and kind in changing the behavior. Like, they're the ones that are more likely to especially apply that to boys and men.
Yep.
And when you have someone like that and you find out, hey, this person is not suitable to work in this profession, they will become abusive over time. And these women really fucking became abusive, and they may very well have been abusive before that. Because you don't do something like this if you're not a horrible person on the inside. There's just no there's no place to get to this from that is nice and normal, I guess is the best way to put that. But you sure as shit don't put them in another environment that's the same, right? And that's what happened here. So we've gone back and forth with different stories where I've pointed out this is what it takes for a woman to get held accountable. Apparently this doesn't rise to the level, right? Putting a boy in a closet. What did they call it in that one movie with the kid that had telekinesis, the chokey, right? Putting a kid in a closet. Yeah, Matilda. Right? Like, that's actually famous for being abuse. We've had a movie for years that portrays that as abuse. Some of the youngest of these women is young enough to have grown up watching that movie. And yet they did it.
Yeah.
Doesn't rise to the level. Doesn't rise to the level of accountability. Doesn't rise to the level where she can't get another job in another school system with other people's kids under her care. And the next time somebody tells you that women get custody because women are more nurturing and men shouldn't be in the school system because men are dangerous, show them this story. This didn't rise to the level.
No.
Like, old woman still has to put her fucking baby in the microwave to rise to the level.
And it's not because they're women. It's because women are excused for everything. Because we live in a society in which women can get away with anything. It's just like with any other protected group. It's not that women do this because they're women. It's not that Jews do this because they're Jews. It's not because blacks do this because they're blacks. It's because any demographic that you give free rein and carte blanche to do anything they want eventually will do anything they want. And it all started with women. So whatever Ye has to say about Jews, whatever Fuentes ironically has to say about blacks, all of this stemmed from what we allowed women to do. Mm-hmm. Once women were allowed to do it, the same people who allowed women to do all things will move on. They have no exit strategy, and so once women are allowed to do everything, they move on to other minoritized individuals. Ironically, because women aren't minorities, but women were treated as minoritized individuals, and that's where all of this stemmed from. So there's no I want to say there's no demographic, but there's no race or gender or nationality or arguably even religious persuasion that makes people more likely to commit these kind of heinous offenses.
Yeah,
it's just that when you let them do it for whatever reason, they'll do it. Some of them will do it, and then more of them will do it, and then most of them will do it. As long as you have this hierarchy of people who are allowed to get away with these things. So let's just do away with this. It's sexism and racism, folks.
Let's just hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Let's just hold everyone to the same. Let's just hold all adults to this. All able-minded adults to the same standard, and anyone who's not able-minded should not be allowed in the position of, for instance, teacher in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. I got a super chow. I thought I had a super chat, but I don't seem to, so I'm not going to sweat that. And let me just take a look at Rumble and make sure you haven't missed anything. Ooh, I think no, that's not it. All right. So I do have a super chow from Meredith G, who gives us $5 and says, HBR News number 384. Given the fact that Maxwell was moved to a lower security prison than she was originally being held, and compared to what happened to Father and Epstein, ended up Ghislaine, I think it's just Ghislaine, got off easy. Well, yeah. And like, she still, her experience is so much better than Jeffrey's. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. And I'm certain that a lot of it has to do with the fact that, yeah, she's a woman. So, anyway, let us know what you guys think about this story in the comments. And I guess we're going to basically close the show out. I really would be interested in, there was one other thing I wanted to mention that I thought was a little bit weird. I think I know why, but I thought I should bring this up because when I first heard of this story, I thought, wow, this kid must have been really starving to want to eat his own poop and drink his own pee. That means that he was isolated for a long time. It sort of made me think about that he could be in there for days, but then I thought, well, wait a minute. If that was the case, then his mother or his father or whatever should be wondering where their son is at, and maybe putting out the search party, right? But apparently they didn't do that. So and the story, we had to try to find the best version of the story that had the most useful information. And I think it turned out to be like a Fox News article, which is weird, but that's the truth. And even then, the Fox News article doesn't tell us how long the boy was locked up. or isolated.
Well, if he was a special needs child because he was intellectually disabled, it's possible that it didn't take as long because he didn't have that level of control and he didn't have that level of understanding.
That's kind of what I was thinking, or he just felt like he's really hungry and he couldn't find any solution in his immediate area, and so he may have pooped himself and then said, I think I'm going to have to eat this, right? Or whatever.
Right.
I mean, that's all I can guess.
The situation, without knowing the details of this kid, like of his intellectual capabilities and stuff, we don't know exactly what happened, but that can happen.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
There's a certain level of development that you have to reach before you understand enough about your bodily waste to be disgusted by it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a fact of life, and at parts of the intellectual disabilities spectrum and in parts of some of the psychological disabilities spectrum, including senile dementia, levels of senile dementia, that can be not present. We'll just leave it at that, and it's up to the caregivers when that's not present in the person you're caring for. It is your job to prevent that from resulting in it being ingested or played in or anything else. And it's just a fact of being, if you don't want to do that, don't be a caregiver.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, we're going to wrap the show up here. So this is, an hour. That's all right. That's good.
Shortest sausage ever.
Yeah.
Chipolata for you tonight.
Little bitty.
But it was a fat sausage.
It was a cocktail wiener, but like a thicker one.
Yeah.
So, let us know what you guys think about this story and all the stories that we covered. We are now going into the patron show to look at this article from, who is this again? The Independent. Yes, that's right. Entitled, I am a barrister and I know the law doesn't protect women and girls. It needs to change in 5 areas. This is why I'm launching a new radical organization, Right to Equality, in partnership with the Good Law Project. So essentially, well, we'll find out. But, yeah, it's all about equality now, guys. And we're going to go through this article, or specifically, I'm just going to jump ahead to the 5 steps and see what it is that needs to change so that women are, I guess, treated better in the legal sense. Maybe Ghislaine Maxwell may have suggested a couple of things. I believe that she has done some feminist work, so this will definitely be right up her alley. All right. So with that said, I want to thank everyone who came out to the show today. I want to thank Hannah and Mike for coming on and sharing their opinions on today's stories. I want to thank you guys for your commentary. If you guys like this video, please smash like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, and leave us a comment. And most importantly, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we will talk to you all in the next video. Oh, I got another, sorry guys, I didn't press the button yet. I did get another super chow because people like to wait until the last possible second to send me super chows. Michael Emmerich Winberg gives us $5 and says, Maxwell will never be Epstein. There'd be hell to pay, and authorities would definitely get on top of that shit. She was Epstein's victim, after all.
Or maybe she has a dead man switch, or a dead woman's switch. It surprises me that Epstein didn't. Or maybe she's in charge of Epstein's dead man switch.
She could be the mastermind. Like the real one. Who knows? Who knows? All right, well, thank you, Michael Emmerich Winberg. Now we're leaving. Thanks, guys, for coming on today's HBR News Show. We'll talk to you all in the next video, which I believe we're doing something big tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.